Hello, I am Roger Cox, and this is my leading video where I presented calculated activities to a group of teachers across our district. I'd like to welcome everybody here to Wilson Young. I know it said that we were going to have calculated activities. This is really something I got at our conference during the summer, the CAMT conference for math. And there's some calculator tricks that we're using in our classes for Algebra 1 and our 8th grade math classes. On the handout that has labeled this right here, the tips and tricks, Terrence,
Yes, sir.
I don't know if you want to write this down or not. That way you can share it with your math teachers.
Well, I actually, our department actually does math do-downs for our class, so we still actually use math every day in our class, even though it is a business class.
Yeah. Well, you might want to take this back even to your math teachers and give them this URL, write it down. This is where I got this handout.
All right.
And they can actually download it and get a clean copy of this. My name is Roger Cox. I am the math department chair here at Wilson & Young. I also teach 8th grade math and algebra. So, how to use these TI-84s. Is it Jennifer?
Yes, sir.
Are you completely clueless on how to use these?
I used to use one. I know how to clear it, I think.
Okay, good. You know how to turn it on. And to clear it, I always just put second and then plus, second, plus, and then 7, number 2, and number 2 again. And then I go back and go second, plus, 7, 1, 2. Got it? That way my kids haven't screwed anything up over today.
But to answer your question, yes, I don't remember.
Okay. Well, this says that you can use a TI-84 as an evaluator. So, what we're going to do here is we're going to click the button here that says y equals. I don't know if you remember graphing calculators that you can put in an equation that would graph it for you, and you go to the table. But we're going to use it for an evaluator. So we're going to type in 1/2, or 1 divided by 2. Doesn't look exactly what's up there. And then the letter H, which is the green button alpha, and then the caret symbol right above the divided by sign. And then parentheses, and then alpha A, which is underneath the green button, plus, and the B, alpha B. Mr. Lightfoot. What do you teach?
Right now, I'm teaching math for 4th graders.
Oh, okay. So, I always tell the kids you can't put in other letters up here besides X because when you graph it, it's looking for the X. But you can use this as an evaluator. If I go back to second and mode for quit, and then I can put in these numbers right here. Like if I knew H was 20 and A was 13 and B was 36, what would it equal? Then I can do this. So we're going to type in 20. And then the store button. You know, see that store down here by the 1?
Uh-huh.
And you're going to put in the letter H again, which is alpha. And it's right above the divide by sign. Of course, they have a colon up here, and the colon is down there by the decimal. So you have to hit the green button again and put in your colon. And then you can put in the other numbers, 13. You know, raise your hand if I'm going too fast. Store, alpha A. Then your colon again, which is alpha decimal. 36, store into B. And I am following along with that piece of paper up there.
Okay, I got last where you put 8.
Mm-hmm.
How do I do that?
The A.
Uh-huh.
Alpha A.
Oh, alpha
I think so.
A. Okay, I got it.
Got it?
Yes.
And once you have those three stored into, you have to hit enter. Press the enter button, and it only shows you that it stored the 36 into the letter B. That's okay. And so now it says, on this one right here, I want to use those numbers and plug them in for this formula.
Okay.
Because this formula right here, does y'all recognize this formula? The formula for a triangle, I think, isn't it?
Oh, I don't know.
1/2 of height times, or trapezoid, what it is. So if you had a formula for trapezoid, and that's what it is, and these
Yes,
are the
for
numbers.
triangle.
Triangle.
Yes.
And so all you need to do is put those numbers in, and you want to evaluate for y1, and so you push in. This is what I tell my kids: alpha, and the button says trace. You have all those choices. There's y1, so hit enter.
Okay, you hit alpha and what else?
Alpha, and then the button says trace,
Trace.
because that'd be F4 on this one.
Okay.
And then hit enter, and the answer would be 490. So if they were doing a test and they had all these numbers in for H, A, and B, then they could solve it real easy. So if they had multiple things going that needed that same formula, then they can just, all they have to do is repeat this up here. Put in different numbers for the letters. Probably what y'all are more familiar with is the quadratic formula.
I got a
Yeah.
question. Are they gonna be able to use calculators for their STAR test?
8th graders do, and algebra
Yes.
does.
8th graders what?
8th graders in algebra 1.
Algebra 1? Okay.
And of course, if you have some 7th graders taking your 8th grade courses, they can use
Yes, because
calculators.
the reason I'm here is because I'm gonna help some of the students,
Mhm.
8th graders. in
8th
our
graders
middle
get,
school.
yes, 8th graders get to use these.
Yes.
Alright, quadratic formula. So, if I go back to y equals, and they're putting this down in y9, so you just hit your down arrow button until you get to y9.
Okay.
And you can put this equation in like you see it, and this is how you're going to want to do this. You're going to make a fraction. If you go to alpha,
Teachers, I need Kamani to room 103, please. And Kamani up here to room 103 if he's in the building.
What did you
Thank
just do?
so I press alpha and then y equals again.
Okay, I'll find out the 1%. Okay.
So I have choices. Right here is the numerator over denominator.
Mm-hmm.
This is units, so this would be a mixed, a mixed number. Units
Mixed
with the
fraction.
numbers, yeah. And so we're going to choose number 1. Now I can put everything in my numerator, but what I have here, so they have negative b. So you got to use the negative sign that's in white
Okay.
down here at the bottom,
Mhm.
and then put in alpha b,
Alpha B. Okay.
and then the square root symbol is in under math,
Okay.
and then you're going to scroll over to where it says number, using your arrow keys, and it's number 1, absolute value. So it's number 1. I'm sorry, this is the wrong one. I don't want absolute value. Hit your delete key. I want square root, not absolute value. So it looks like mine? Because we can start over.
Wait, how do I get back?
Yeah, I got it.
You got it?
I think I just need to click. I'm on the math one where you can go over math.
Yeah, go back to equals. Ah, you're good.
Okay.
Your little arrow next to the B.
Yes.
Okay. So we want the square root symbol. Square root symbol is next to the x squared.
Oh,
It's in blue, so you have to hit the second button first.
Oh, okay. See, I did that and I thought it was wrong. So
I did mine wrong. Alright, then we need to put the B in there again, so alpha B. And then hit the X squared button so you have it B squared. Subtract this time. So these are the operation keys. So subtract 4 and then alpha A and alpha B. Then you hit your down arrow key and put in that 2A, 2 alpha A. Remember, quadratic formula has two answers. You have to have a plus and minus sign on it.
Plus minus.
I think I forgot something. Looks like I forgot something again.
So it's gonna give you that two roots?
Yeah, and I forgot to put a plus sign right here. Can y'all get your cursor right back up here by the square root symbol? Use your arrow keys.
Before the B.
So have it right where I have mine, and we're going to have insert. Insert is that blue key right by the delete key. So second, insert, and then hit your plus sign.
And then go back, yeah.
Yes. Then they want you to repeat the same thing, except that we're going to have a plus. We're going to have a minus sign instead of plus sign. What if I don't think I can. All right, so fraction, you go alpha, y equals, number 1. Make sure you use the negative sign down here that's in the white keys, or the opposite of B. And then subtract square root subtract 4 alpha A The kids who have their own calculators, the reason why they were put down here, because the guy who taught this to me, he says that he has the kids put this formula in the bottom, so it's always there.
This would be pretty convenient whenever
Yeah.
I was in high school.
In college,
Yeah, and college.
taking college algebra. The thing is with us is that we have to clear calculators up for the test.
True, but if you knew it,
If you knew it, it works. So once you have the quadratic formulas in there, go back to the calculator part, so you go to second quick. And I can clear this if you want to make it look clean by hitting clear. And then we're going to store those numbers in there. 1 into A, -1 into B, and -6 into C. So you put in 1, store, alpha A, and then the colon.
You said -1?
Yep, -1. I'm following along on that piece of paper. Store into B. -6. And when you have all those numbers in, you hit enter.
Yes.
And so whenever you're doing something, you need a quadratic formula to find the answers for these. You would need to find y9, so you go back to alpha
Alpha?
and the trace button. Pull, which one are you looking for? I need y9. Hit enter again.
oops, I did mine wrong. I went to Y4 as well.
And then alpha trace and go to the other one. Did I get the same answers as I got?
Yes.
I got there somehow.
Negative b plus square root of b squared minus. Oh, I know what I did wrong. It worked the way I put it in there. I put my formula in there wrong. That should be 4ac.
That's true.
So
Since
I wasn't following along with the piece of paper putting the formula in there right. So the calculator did exactly what I said it to do. So all I have to do to fix this is go back.
Okay, so I need to, what do I click to get back where you're
Y
at?
equals.
Y equals. Oh, and all the way down.
Yeah, all the way down takes a while.
And just change the B to a C.
Change b to c.
On both of them.
On both of them. Now, this is what's nice about these calculators. Now when I go back, I don't have to go up, find that one, decide I want to use that one again, hit enter twice. It gives me my new answer. Go up, hit enter, select it, and then hit enter to solve it.
Oh, that is cool. Has it always been that way?
On the 84s, not the 83s. 84s and above. Alright, the next set of instructions, number 3, is for calculators that I don't have. I don't know if anybody else in the district has the color ones. So I'm skipping 3 and flipping over to the next page. Next page is just basically showing you how that you can change the zoom factors on your calculator. If I go to y equals and put in the formula that they have on here, you can put in 1 divided by 2. Now the x, the quick way to find the x button is clicking the button by the alpha key. So there's x squared. Then you have x plus 1. And I bet you if I graph this one's going to give me an error. Yeah, there it goes. Not giving me an error, but I don't like that line. You know where that line's coming from? It's coming from those last two that we did a while ago, y9 and y0.
Oh.
So I go back to y equals and go back down. That's don't delete them. This little equal sign right here is turned on. If I want to turn that graph off, I move my cursor over and hit enter.
It's turned off.
And now it's turned off. Go down to y0, turn it off. So now if I go back to graph, it'll just graph those top two equations that we have in there.
Y1 and Y2.
If I go to zoom, zoom is the button right here. That is standard window, and you can square it up to make it look nicer by clicking 5. So that's what these pages are doing, is how to change the zoom. I don't play with the zoom very much with my kids. You can actually have a kid who likes a certain setting and it's his own calculator. You actually have the option when you go to zoom is that to create something and put it into memory, and it will save that preset for the top. But every time you reset your calculator, it goes away. Alright, so that's what the next set of instructions on that is for. And I want to go over to the next page, which is, I want to go to number 6. Page 6. Well, I say page 6, number 6.
Problem 6.
Problem 6. So if we have these same equations in here, alright, it says I can show my graph and my table at the same time. If I go back to mode and scroll all the way down where it's full, horizontal, and the GT, that's graph and table at the same time.
Oh.
If I hit enter,
That's only for the 84s, right? 84 plus?
I think no. Would the Inspires do it? Yes, it won't work on 83.
I know, yeah, that's what my classroom has, 83s.
Do they really? How about 83 plus?
I have the 83 plus and a few 83s, because
Where?
I'm at Permian, I have freshmen,
Freshman.
so I think the upperclassmen have it.
Yeah. I think there's only for 84s up. I don't know if 83s will do that.
When I get upperclassmen, I get the 84s.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You hit graph, and so you can see the graph side by side. Now, since I hit graph, I'm actually working on the graph side, because if I start moving the arrow keys, you can see the cursor move around. If I want to come back over on the table side, the table is right here, so you have to hit the blue button first and then go to table. And that way, when I'm moving things around, you can actually now see the cursor moving with my table. You can see where the point is. When it's x equals 4, the answer is 8. And if I move from left to right, because I actually have two equations. This is my first equation. If I go up and down, I'm still on that quadratic formula. And if I hit the arrow key to the right, now I'm on my second equation, which actually be the linear equation. And if I go down it, or up that, it shows me where the x's are at. I'm going to go on to the next one, number 7. First of all, let's go ahead and turn this back to where it was. So if we go back to mode and go down to full, and I'll go back to quit. All right, we're going to go to where it says stat. I don't know if you see that on number 7 right there. We're going to go to the stat button. And we're going to choose the edit, which is number 1. We're going to put in a list of variables here. So we're putting -2, enter, 1, enter, 0, enter, 1, enter, 2, enter.
I'm lost on my
Okay?
Just stat plot, is that what I was
Not
supposed to
just stat. Stat
Okay,
is
where's that at?
right.
Underneath the lead.
Okay, and then 1. Okay. What did you tell me?
Those numbers right there.
Oh, okay.
See that? Okay, we don't need all these. We want to under L1. I'm doing what we did right here. So you can come up over
Right
to,
here?
go to the left side.
Okay.
Go left. I'm sorry, that would be right for you.
Yes.
Go up to the top. No. Go down.
No.
I want you to stop right where it says go down. And then go upwards. Now hit clear. Hit enter. And go. Now go back to your left. And then you can just type in the numbers that you see right there.
-2.
2.
Zero, right?
And then get the delete. And delete.
Okay.
Get all those other numbers away. Okay. So we put those in our list number 1. And so if I go back to my y equals button, I'm going to clear these out. Just hit clear. This is where it's nice for my algebra. What happens, because what it's asking here is if I put in a quadratic equation, x squared. And then I add list 1 to it. So if I take x and add something to it, what happens to my graph? This is the changes in the variables, right? So put L1, there's a couple ways of doing it. L1 is a blue key down here, number 1. So you can just put in second L1. And then press graph. So it graphs 5 different equations at one time. And if you wanted to see it better, you can zoom in by pressing zoom. And zoom in just a little bit. And you have to hit enter one more time. And so you start seeing those graphs a little bit better. That one that crosses the point of origin, we call that our parent function. So what happens when you subtract 1, it goes down. When you subtract 2, it goes down to twice. If you add 1, it goes up on the graph. If you add 2, it goes up on the graph twice. All right, go back to y equals. And let's change it to, I'm going to clear it. See what happens when we take x and add those variables to it, or subtract those variables. L1, and then square it. And then you can see the graph on that one. And of course, then again, what happens when you just multiply it? If I go back to y equals, and I take my list, my L1 list, and I multiply it by x squared. Okay. That's one of the things the kids have to know in our algebra exams. What happens when you make changes? Does it go up in graph? Does it make it wider? Does it make it skinnier? All right. On number 8 is one that the my calculators won't do. This is for the TI-84, the color edition. So this is something I cannot do. I think Inspires will do this one, but not mine.
It's 3-dimensional.
Actually, what it does is it takes a picture and they work with the kids on making the graph and then finding out what the equation is using the arc of that water fountain. And it just walks you through it. All right, number 9. I know in 8th grade we have to teach finance to the kids, and so there's an application for finance. So I'm going to go to Quit. There's a button that says Apps. It's in purple right by the math button. Okay, it's the number 1.
Just hit enter.
Hit enter. Okay, so there is a problem that says that you need to borrow $20,000 to buy a car, and they want to know there's the interest rate. So what we're going to do is when we go to calculate, we're going to use number 1, the TVM solver, and these are all the variables that we need to input. So based off the question they have here, we're going to put 24 in for the number of months for a 2-year loan. The interest is 3.9. principal is $20,000. Payment right now, we're going to skip because they're asking us what is our monthly payment. So we're gonna figure that one out. And then we're gonna put in 12 and 12. If you move your cursor back up to where the payment's at, and you're going to solve this, it's gonna tell us what our payment is. And solve is down here, it's green, down by enter. So you have to hit alpha. Enter. So it tells the kid how much it's gonna cost. Now it says a negative because it's taking that money off of the principal every month. But their payment is gonna be $867.60. Now, it flips over because it says how much interest are you actually paying over time. If you borrow $20,000 and this is how many payments, how much my payments is, it says how much is interest are the kids going to have to pay. So if you go, you have to remember that number, $867.60 something cents. We're going to go back to the calculator part, go second and quit. Of course, it has it for us on this piece of paper. And you would tell the kids that you remember that, write it down, $867.61. Have to tell the kids how many months was that? It was 24 months. So over 24 months, I'm paying $20,822. So how much money in interest am I paying? So the next thing I do, if I hit times, addition, subtraction, it's going to take the answer. And then I can subtract from it. So you hit subtract $20,000. Hit enter. And that would tell the kid how much money they paid in interest over the life of the loan. All right, let's go back to the apps and go back to your finance. Choose number 1 again. Okay, on this next one, we're gonna delete and clear this one out, the number of months. And let's put in our interest is still 3.9. Let's change the principal amount. I want to go down, enter. Is yours going down?
You gotta give it a number.
Okay, put a 0. Thank you. So we're gonna put in $25,000. We're gonna make a payment of $350 every month, so you gotta put in negative 350.
Had to put negative. I keep forgetting that.
Yeah, put negative, so to go down, not go up forever. 12, 12, 12. So we're gonna go back up, because this is what we're solving, is that one right there where the cursor's at. So how many months is that gonna be? If I borrowed $25,000 for a car or something, can I make $350 payments? How many months will that be? But basically, that's what it's asking. So you go back to solve, which is alpha solve, and it tells you that it's going to be about 81 months to make that payment, pay all that off. Okay. Oh. Did y'all get both handouts?
Yes, sir.
All right. I was telling, what's your name?
Mr. Contreras, Joe Contreras.
Joe? Mr. Contreras?
Yeah, Herman.
Herman? I was telling them I went to the CAMT convention this summer, and this is where these are coming from. And this one actually has the URL so that you can get a clean copy and make more copies from. And I'll give you the other URL in a second.
All right. Thank you.
All right. I want to see which one on this one. I'm trying to think, how much time we got? 10 minutes? These are actually math questions. So this one, the lady who made this one really did a good job about telling you exactly what to do with this one and how these questions came off the STAR exam. I think it was 2 years ago. and how to answer these questions. I'm trying to see which one, since we got about 10 minutes left. Make sure I'm doing the questions I want to do here. Alright, let's flip over to page 4. Of course, there's always multiple ways of answering questions. My kids usually know if they put this in my, equation, and then they look for the table that are matching all these. There's another way of doing this. It says enter the equation in the equation editor, y equals. So, go to y equals, and we're going to put in equation 12 minus 3x. Then it says to go to table set. Table set is right here by Windows, so it's in blue, so you have that second blue. And if you change the independent variables, independents are your x's, and change that to ask. Alright, now hit Yep, I did the wrong button. Go to second table. So they're asking us what are we looking for? And since that's a -3 up here, that's my independent, I would type in -3, hit enter, and it tells me the answer is 21.
Yep.
And what's the answer supposed to be?
27.
-27. So if I go back to y equals, change my equation, I'm sorry, not my equation.
Type in the next
Yeah,
one.
we just tap in the next number, which would be -18. So I type in -18, hit enter. So that's not the right answer. So we go down to the next one, type in -5. There's 27, put in -1, and then 8. So that would be the correct answer by just having them ask.
I like making them go up and down the table.
I know my kids are always saying, that's too much to remember. I teach them something not every day, but once a week there's something new. And this is, Mr. Cox, how am I going to remember all this? That's why we practice it every once in a while. We come back to it and do it again. Some of the kids will remember and some will not. All right. Let me go back to this one because this is actually not in this paper. I'm gonna do something else on this one. See if Joe knows this one. I'm just gonna clear all this out. I think the easiest way to clear all this out is go to Stat and go down number 5, Setup Editor. I think that'll clear it out. Hit Enter again. If it doesn't, then we go to second plus 722. Go back to Stat.
Yep.
We can go up here, go to Clear. We can move those up and go to Clear. Hit Enter. I want to use 2 points. I'm just going to use these 2 points. We're going to put them in. This is my X, or this is my L1. This is my L2. This is L1, and this is L2. My inputs, my independents, and my dependents. So we're going to put in -5, enter, and then -1 goes underneath it, and then 27, and 15. So there's my X, Y, X, Y. So how do you take 2 points, because we do this a lot in 8th grade math and in algebra. Find 2 points and find my linear equation. Or you can find the line of best fit. If I go back to Stat and move over to Calculate, and we're going to go down to number 4, which is linear regression. and I want you to stop where it says store. And we're going to put store Y1 right here. So Y1 is under alpha, trace. So we're going to take our answer and go ahead and store it into our Y equals. Then hit enter and enter. If y'all remember, this is my slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b, because a is my slope, b is my y-intercept. But if I hit y equals, the equation now has been put in for me. Joe says, I just learned something. I think that one works on the
83.
83. I can't remember if they have it in there. I know it does work somewhere because I saw it on YouTube. There is one way of doing that somewhere. So it plugs it in there, and of course I can and the graph would be there for me.
Way over there.
Yeah, way over there. So I go back to standard and it'll show it. Or I can go to my tables and see my. Why is it showing this? Y'all remember?
Because you're still on our ask.
I'm on an ask, so I got to go back to table set and change that to auto. And then if I go back, it'll have them all there. You know how to change the increments real quick?
Oh yeah.
Hit the plus sign. And then I can change it by 0.5. And I'll change all these to halves. 3, 2.5, 2, 1.5. That way when they're looking for their zeros sometimes and you can't find it, if they change that real quick, they can, to a third or whatever. Alright, let me see what else was on here that was real interesting. There's one more that I know. Where's it at? Page number 10. So you have the question up here about the varies directly, and so you have x and y varies directly, y equals 20 over a third, and when x equals 30, and it says if you place it,
Thank you.
because we know that very directly says that you take the y and you put it over x. For this activity, I led a professional development intended for a group of district algebra teachers entitled Calculator Activities. In preparation for this professional development, I attended a training at the CAMT conference earlier in the year. I used handouts that were provided at the conference and made copies for all registered attendees. My preparation was for advanced skills using calculators. As it turns out, several members in attendance were not math teachers at all, but teachers who were trying to earn exchange credit before the Thanksgiving holidays. Because most of the attendees were not math teachers familiar with calculators, it slowed my presentation down as I had to explain how to use the calculators, where to find the buttons, and etc. I was prepared to give the presentation as I had the materials, handouts, and calculators for everyone to use. I was very frustrated because I felt I wasted a lot of time preparing for a presentation that was not readily relevant to the people in attendance. They were only there to get hours, not to really learn what I had to offer. I can only hope that the ones in attendance took the handouts with links available back to the campus math teachers. Because there were a few math teachers in attendance, it was difficult to collaborate and share ideas about using calculators in the classroom. Another bad thing about this activity is that the district does not have all the same calculators at every campus. Some campuses had older models that these activities will not work on. If I was to present this information again, I would want to do it at the beginning of the year during the district-wide job-alike training instead of an after-school presentation.